I recently had a customer come in with one of these machines here, Husqvarna automatic, and she needed a replacement part. So I went up to my storage shed and had a bit of a rummage around and found about, I think it was 8 of these machines. I just went through and looked for all of this model or similar model. This particular one's a CL21, class 21. I found class 21As, a class 21E, and I went ahead and got the part for the customer and fitted it. And while I was doing so, I thought I'd go through and try and restore the machines that I found in storage there. So, and after doing so, I just realised how brilliant these machines are and how reliable and well made they are. So I thought I'd do a video just sort of showing, looking through the dirt at what you've got, and then just sort of cleaning the machine up and just running through the the mechanical side of it really, and what you need to look out for if you ever do pick up one of these machines. And if you ever see one, I would recommend buying one if it's at the right price, because there's not a lot that goes wrong with these. In fact, I would say this machine here, although it's I think late 50s, early 60s, I would say it's the most reliable old machine I've ever seen, and very easy to work on. So yeah, so even more reliable than the Beninas and the Elnas. I really do think these are probably the pinnacle for reliability. So early 60s, yeah, nearly 60 years old. Is that right? Late 50s, early 60s. Yeah, nearly 60 years old. So, and out of the 8 I got from my storage, I only stripped 2 of them for parts. So the remaining 6 I gave a couple away to op shops around the area. I'm selling a few of them, and I've kept one because it's in really good nick. Not this one, but this seems pretty good. So 6 machines out of 8 I thought was a pretty good hit rate considering how old they are. So yeah, I'll just show you the main points as to what to look out for. Obviously you want to make sure all the bits and pieces, the main part would be the foot controller, make sure that's with it. That's the other end of the plug, foot controller. Probably the biggest problem with these machines are the belts that run in here. So the belts, you've got a belt, I'll take these covers off in a minute. You've got a big belt that comes around here, and also a smaller one in here. They wear out. You can still get them apparently, and from Scandinavia somewhere, I think, maybe Finland I think it is, but I think you can still get them. The motors in behind here, there's a set of suppression capacitors, noise reducing capacitors in there that can blow out, but that's easily replaced. A lot of people just remove them, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. It can make the machine a little bit not as smooth running, and also interferes with radio and TVs in the local area. If you're lucky, you can get away with removing them, but I always replace them. And that's inside the back of the machine. Little cam units that come with them for your packed stitches. Nice and easy to remove and reinsert again. Did I say easy to remove and reinsert? It's probably because I had the zigzag fully engaged there. Okay. Yeah, so I'll start taking this apart. So yeah, I'd probably start by just removing these two screws here. Get this little cover off. There's not a lot involved in getting this off. Also, I'll do another video also on the actually using this machine as well, what it's capable of doing. So I'll link that in down below. So this is the motor drive and the belt to the idler assembly, and then another belt in behind here which you can't see goes up and around the hand wheel. So this particular model, these class of machines, so I think the 21, the 19, etc., they have a little reduction gear here which you can pull out, and that actually makes the machine run at a lot lower speed with a lot of torque. So if you're doing something really heavy like jeans for instance, you can get a lot more controllability of your speed and a bit more torque to sort of punch that needle through the heavy fabric. So yeah, that's a really good feature. And if you put a bobbin on there, this is also the bobbin winder, just putting the bobbin on will actually disengage the sewing mechanism as well, so you can wind your bobbin without the needle going up and down while it's threaded, which is a bad thing. So that will disengage automatically. And that, so the first thing you'd probably want to look at would be this belt. You can sort of take that off reasonably easily there. I haven't got a bad one to show you, although I might in my rubbish bin there. But that one's in pretty good nick. You just sort of visually inspect it and look for any sort of wear. Yeah. But in fact, if I was looking to buy one, I'd probably plug it in and try it first. So if it's spinning on the spot, it could just be that this belt here is worn, or this one in behind here. So yeah, they will need replacing if that's the case. Yeah, so you know that might have an effect on your decision as to whether to buy it or not. But as I say, you can get them, I think. Or you know, they must have sold a lot of these machines because I've seen a lot of them around. So you know, you could potentially make a good one out of two. That's what I've been doing anyway. And to get this other belt, check that one. It's pretty straightforward. Just this. Oh, that's tight. That one screw there. And there's a, it's a bit hard to see, I'll show you the spring down in here. It's a bit hard to see, but there's a spring there that's attached to this little plate and behind here, so that needs to come out as well. Okay, and this should just pop out. Sometimes the belt here will catch on here, so just give it a bit of a wiggle there. So this is the clutch reduction gear mechanism. So pulling this out, allows this gear here to engage on the smaller gear here. So with it in, there's a belt here in the way. So that's engaged here. So you've got small poly driving large, small gear driving large gear, so reduction, and push it in, and that's just your normal speed drive there, not engaged. And when the bobbin goes on, it just pushes this little lever here, in which disengages the clutch. Okay, so, and there's the other belt that heads up to the top of the machine. So you can turn it around like this, I guess, if you don't want to take it right out, but it's easy to get out, it's no problem. You could just turn it like so. I'm just turning the hand wheel there. If you do need to get the belt out, it's easy, just this screw here. Now, there's a bit of a trick to this. So this is in behind the, there's the hand wheel there. This is in behind, open this cover here. What you have to do is just get, see, if you try and pull that out, the belt's running down here, and it's catching on this inside of the casing here, likewise with the rear one. So I just push that in a little, hold that one in, and it's probably quite hard to see because I don't have very good light here, but there's another one on the other side of the belt here. I just grab that, try and do this without getting in the way. I just hold that like that and push this other one here, and that allows you to get the whole belt out there. Okay, so if you do need to replace it, that's how you do it. Now you might have heard something fall down in the guts of the machine there, which could be a bit scary if you didn't know what it was, and that's just a little pin. It's a little pin here that where the hand wheel came out sits in like so. So when you put it back together, that locates in across here. So the shaft goes in through that hole there, and then that little pin sits in, just a locator. So that just sits back on there, and you'll feel it if it's not in the right position. This hand wheel won't click in. You'll just turn it until it pops in. That's just the pin sitting into that locator there, and then you just pop the screw back in. No worries. So next thing is the motor and the capacitors I was talking earlier about. This cover here needs to come off. It's easy too. That's the thing I like about this machine, is it's really easy to service, and there's bugger all that goes wrong with them. Really, they're so good. Now I've just popped the machine up on its, showing its bottom there. So this end here is where the hand wheel is up here, and needle down here. So there's a screw just here. I'll just put that into perspective. So that screwing into here. Remove that. And then this cover will just slide straight back, just like that. And of course you want to make sure you've got your machine unplugged before doing any of this, because under here, some of them will have this plastic cover, some of them won't. in here is live wiring, so just make sure you have your machine unplugged. Double check it before you go doing this. Okay, first thing to check, and I would do this for any machine that I get if I bought one second hand, unless it's been fully serviced and you know it's been serviced, I would check the motor brushes, and that's really just a simple thing here. Now if the motor brushes do wear out completely, it will damage the motor beyond repair, and I know in New Zealand here they're I don't think they'll rewind damaged small motors like this anymore. I think there's one place in Christchurch that does it, but I'm not sure how much that would cost either. So you'll notice the spring, and on the end of the spring I'm just pulling that gently out. There's a carbon brush, motor brush. Now if they wear right out, so these are designed to wear out, they wear very slowly, but if that carbon wears right down and this spring touches the inside of the motor here, it will damage it badly. So just check that they're not too worn. If they were down, getting close to the spring, I would probably just arrange to get replacements and get that done. So the brushes either come complete with the spring on them, or they might just come with the carbon brush there. So that's really important to check. I'd do that. That's the first thing I'd be doing if I bought one of these. Okay, and then it's just a matter of they're rectangular, so they will only go in two ways, that way or turn it 180, but try and keep it the same way as you took it out. You'll notice that it's got markings on the back, and when I took it out the markings were facing away from us as we look at the back of the machine. So put them back in the same way if you can. So that should just nicely slide down in there, and just whack the cap back on. There's two of these, by the way. Oops, I guess if you made an assumption, well, you could assume that the other brush is worn exactly the same. But if you don't want to assume that, there is easy access to the brush on the bottom side here. Just take this little cover here off. This is the bottom brush. That screw's a little bit jammed up. And there's the access port to the other brush. Okay, on there. So while I'm here, I'm going to take this cover off. You don't have to do this, but just to show you what's going on in here. Drop feed. I think you can see the drop feed mechanism from here. Yeah, you can. So I'll show you the drop feed later, but if it's seized up, that's a good place to get to it. Because the capacitors, and I can see from the bottom there that it's had the capacitors removed. So I'll just zoom on the motor. Now removing the motor is easy. Let's have a look at what's going on here. That's the earth. The power to the light comes from this terminal here, and that one there, I think, the two greys. So that'll need to be just loosened off. So if you ever do anything like this, just make sure that you take a photo or something so you know where things are going back. But this is pretty straightforward, just two wires, short one there. I'll just remove that. Just going to loosen that, and that terminal should let go of that wire. And this just leads up to the light, up through the guts of the machine there. So right, there's another one, and that will allow me to take the motor out. And there's two mounting screws, one here. Note the earth strap, that's important for electrical safety, needs to be connected back up, but you can see it's got a big lug there that the screw goes through. Someone soldered something onto that. I don't know why they would. Not sure what that's for. I'll just clean that up a little bit. Right, and then the motor, mounting screw here. So quite nice and easy, and you'll see the cables for the lamp just pulling back through here. It's still attached slightly here. That's it. Okay, so nice modular sort of system. I mean, there's the whole motor and electrics, except for the lamp, obviously, all sort of contained in this one little unit. And on the back here, there should be a capacitor set. Now, it's been removed on this. What I was saying before is people do remove them and just do away with them. It won't affect the running of the machine, apart from it might feel a little bit rougher slightly, just because the what the capacitors do is they smooth out the power signal, so you don't get interference, you know, with radios, TVs. Not so bad these days because not many people use you know, the old school radios, but I do. You know, I use in my workshop here, I use this old AM radio. It's just handy. I could listen to the radio through the internet, but it means I have to turn the computer on and have it running all the time. It's just convenient. But so people do still use you know, radios and whatnot, so I tend to replace them. So here's a another motor with the capacitor not quite installed, but it just clips in like so. So this here is a set of capacitors. There's 3 capacitors in this assembly here, and as you can see, you know, after nearly 60 years, it's still intact, no problem whatsoever. If they do blow up, they'll create quite a bang, probably upset your sewing, might give you a bit of a scare, a bit of smoke. They are designed to fail safely. If they blow up, they'll they can blow an end cap out here, and all this paper and foil comes spewing out of it. Lots of smoke, can kind of ruin your day. Generally wouldn't, you know, it's designed to fail safe, but I would certainly turn the machine off as soon as that happens. But they can be rebuilt and replaced, that's no problem. So yeah, just a matter of finding someone in your area, I guess, that would be happy to rebuild a capacitor set for you. There's plenty of information online about them. So yep, that's all set. I've tested this machine, it runs, so you know, you don't need that, that's all good. So there's the motor assembly along with the power cord. Now this here comes off, this whole gives you access to the more of the machine here. Just 2 screws. probably never been undone. I don't know. But you do need to get in here to service them. So there is actually an oil point in here, so you know, I don't know if it's actually stated in the manual. Yeah, I guess you could you can get to that oil point just through the end cover here. Might be a bit difficult to get to, but I just think it's probably easier to take those two screws out and take this cover off here. A bit more convenient to get oil into there. Right, so around to the front of the machine, and let's get that needle out there, get that presser foot. Might as well just remove that needle so I don't stab myself with it. Now the bobbin case is nice and easy to get out. So there's a little latch there that latches the bobbin. When you push it, clicks into place there. So when you grip across here, that pushes this little lever and it releases the bobbin case there. So that's handy. That's actually the hook or shuttle unit, shuttle retainer here. Throat plate, otherwise known as needle plate. Depends what school you went to, I think. But yeah, so I'll show you how to get this free arm off here. So first of all, just loosen up the throat plate. And then there's 3 screws here. That throat plate would come off, by the way, if I could get my fingernail under it. After taking those 2 screws out, just remove these 3 screws here, like that, and this drops down, and that's not quite loose enough. That's got it. So this here sort of drops down, floats around the breeze. Actually, that can probably just slide out there with a bit of a jiggle. I'll take this. So this should lift off now. And there's the throat plate there, just popping out there. Now this is something you want to definitely check if you've got one of these and you're either servicing it or picking it up from second-hand outfit or whatever. Is just get the lint and crud out of here. That's where it'll build up. Just give that a bit of a clean out. You can use a brush or a compressed air or whatever to clean that. Just do a basic clean there. Okay, so just make sure it's all clear in between the teeth there. Right, and that should come out. Is that touching on? They're not normally that hard to get off. What is that? I've never had trouble getting those off before. It's almost like, I don't want to put too much force on it, anything either. You definitely don't want to sort of be forcing anything when you're doing this sort of thing. Just gently. Yeah, I don't know why that's not coming off. I think the whole base plate's got to come off to get that out. Bear with. Now these could be tight, by the way. You don't really need to take this off, but I thought I'd just show you. Oh, they're not too bad. This just holds the bottom plate on. Just the 3 screws there. If I was servicing a machine, I would probably take this base plate off because it makes it easy to clean. Right. Put that down there. Now that's off. Nice and easy. Once you get the base plate off there. Okay. So, well, I've got it down here. I'll show you the bulb. So this just hinges down and makes it easy to replace your bayonet fitted bulb. Standard 25 watt, that one. So that's made in Japan, that one. That's good quality bulb. Unlike the modern, some of the modern bulbs you get are pretty flimsy, they don't last very well, but that is pretty good if it's working. You can get the shuttle out. In fact, I'll show you the part that my customer was after, because apparently what had happened is they was sewing something pretty heavy by the sounds of it, and the machine jammed, and I think it may have been forced, and oops, screw on the floor, it damaged that. Now I'll show you that. This has a little locator there that locates into this little driver here, so that just literally sits there like that, and then this cap just sits on and screws in there. So the damage was where this is turning, the hook here picks the thread up off the needle, but it jammed somehow, and so this had jammed, and this was still driving, and it had damaged this area down in here where this little protrusion here that is normally in this slot here was forcing its way out and into here, and it pushed all this in and damaged this. So that was causing the majority of the problems. That's really easy to replace. 3 screws, that comes off. I don't think you can buy these anymore, but you know, there should be spares for these around, I'd say. Upon reassembling, I found that there was still a bit of a problem with jamming, and I found the shuttle retainer was damaged on this customer's machine that I'm talking about there, so I replaced the shuttle retainer. This one looks okay. You may see these little little grooves here. That's normal. Sometimes it looks like it, if you're not familiar with them, it looks like they could be damaged, you know, by needle coming down here or making grooves, but I think that's part of the anti-jam system, where it sort of tries to cut the thread if it does jam up. If we take a look in end here, we've got a take-up lever. Nothing much to see in here, just oil points you'd see in the manual. Just go ahead and do that. Yeah, so everything else, I mean, is pretty reliable. These gears here. They drive the shuttle. I've never seen those fail. Unlike some of the other older machines, you see those gears stripping or failing in some way. I've not seen one of these fail, so again another testament to the reliability of these machines. So while I've got it in bits, I'm going to oil the machine. I noticed there's a few spots that aren't noted in the manual too, so I'm just going to go through and show you where to oil. So anything with pads like this here, see that little pad there? I just get sort of bulk oil and give it a good soaking like that. And another pad there. You just want to saturate, well, yeah, probably a little bit less. Well, yeah, that's saturated, I suppose. A bit of oil. Now there's another pad around the front. This one here. Give that a good soaking. And just for the finer parts, I'll just use this little oil can that delivers a little bit of oil, not heaps of it. I just generally oil anything that looks like it's moving there. So you probably end up oiling something that's not necessarily needs oiling, but as long as the oil's not going on the motor, that's fine. So through these ones on the top here. One on the top of the foot bar there, that's the foot bar. I'll get a little bit of oil in there. Try not to squash the cat's tail, that wouldn't be good, would it, Molly? Squish your tail. Oh, okay. I would probably get oil into here. Sorry, the light's not very good here. It's on that sliding shaft there. As I say, I'm probably oiling things that don't need to be oiled, but better too much oil than too little. And yeah, don't get any oil near the motor. Obviously the motor's not attached at the moment, so no worries about that. There's an oil point here, which is down by the the motor sits in here. There's an oil point there, which I think you can get to with the cover on. Yeah, it's exposed when the cover's on, so yeah, be aware of that one. Not sure if it's in the manual. I had a bit of a look through the other day and noticed that there were a few oil points, probably really oil points for servicemen to catch. And might just zoom in there. So, lower bearing foot bar. We've done the upper bearing of the foot bar. There's a point here just where that's the top of the needle bar carrier, and lower needle bar bearing, upper needle bar bearing, foot lift lever, get a bit of light, foot lift lever, this point here could do with oil. You can see there's a little bit of surface rust. I'm not sure if it's coming through on the camera or not, but a little bit of surface rust there. That's nothing really to worry about. It's not sort of interfering, it's not seized or anything. The thing with these machines is as long as you keep them oiled, use them from time to time. I'll get oil up into these. There's some linkages back in here, just go and get oil onto those. There's this little screw thread there, I'd oil that. That is foot pressure adjustment, I think. That could be seized, I'm not sure. Yep, I think that's about it. I would do, are these, I think, yeah, these are oil points here I think too. Maybe one for this bearing here and one for this bearing. Yep. The drop feed mechanism. Where's that? Yeah, I'd get some oil into that. Any little shafts or bearings that you can see, just oil them. Now there's another pad up in here, hiding up in there. Not sure if you can see it. Get light down in there. Yeah. This one here. There's a pad there. I might get to that from the top maybe. Yeah. So, giving that a bit of a soaking. I just sort of squirted it there. I'm not worried about squirting oil into this at the moment because there's no motor attached. Generally, if you're oiling the machine, you'd have it upright. And with the motor being attached to the back here, generally all the oil would sort of flow down inside here. If you had it sort of tilted back, I guess oil could run down the back here and into the motor area. You need to be careful of that, so you wouldn't want to go sort of squirting too much oil around in this area. You definitely don't want oil on the motor. So yeah, I think that's about it really. So now I'll just go ahead and reassemble. So reassembly, reverse of disassembly, pretty much. Okay, I might clean it while I go as well. One other thing you'll potentially find with these machines, this thread guide here is all one piece, so that's the rear, that's the front. These can break off. It's not a huge deal, you could probably retrofit something into there as long as you've still got the screws, or you could find screws for it, I'm sure. So that's another thing to look out for these, is they break off. That's the only other real weak point, if any, on these. Yeah, so the weak points are those belts pretty much, and those two drive belts. Yeah, I showed you before, so apart from that, I would say ultra reliable. As long as they've been looked after. I guess you could get some that have been abused, which could be difficult to recover, and I think that's what happened with the other two that I ended up just salvaging for parts. In fact, this is what I got out of two machines, a box of bits like that. So yeah, handy. Just one thing to note, putting this back together, I would just start these screws, don't tighten them, just get them mostly done up, just very loosely, and then put the throat plate on, because if you don't, you may have trouble getting the throat plate on because the two screws, these three screws might misalign this arm slightly, or the arm cover, and cause these two screws to be misaligned and difficult to get in. So just get these and tighten these up. These are countersunk, so tighten these first. That. And that locates the throat plate, and then you can go ahead and tighten these. Bit of oil on the clutch here. Well, it's not on the clutch, it's actually for the clutch, I guess. It's this little pad. Give that a bit of a soaking up. That is accessible through the end cap here, which sits on there, and you'll notice a hole here. There's a little hole there that you can get your oil can down into. I would just loosely attach this to start with. The other end of the spring for the automatic tension, belt tensioning, is here, and that needs to attach to this little hook here. And meanwhile, that belt that comes from the hand wheel needs to go around here, and this, you'll see, goes to the motor. Can be a little bit of a tough one to get in there, but I would start by getting that belt on. Maybe angle that back. Yeah. Just getting, okay, there's the belt on, the rear belt, and then with this loose you can actually attach that little spring. So what I'm trying to do there is attach the end of the spring here onto this little lever. It might be easier to do once it's tightened, maybe. Oh yeah, there we go. And then push that. So I've actually hooked the spring onto the little lever, and then I'm just pressuring, putting tension on that by pushing this back. Now, oh, it's just popped off. It might be easier. Actually, I've got the wrong screw. No, I've got the wrong screw in there. Before I do this, I will put this screw where it's supposed to be here. That will help to hold things in position. So even if that screw's got a little step in it, you see, so even if it's tight, this can still move. It slides. Okay, and then you could even sort of you know, put the belt on. You can see that's quite loose there now. That's because the little spring here is not pulling. So if I pull that, that tensions the belts. It tensions both belts. So it tensions this direction for this belt, and up and down sort of on an angle back like that. So what I need to do now is I need to get this hooked on to where I've got my tweezers hooked onto the end of the spring there, and attach that, attach this here. So we could probably just loosely put this in here, like that. And once I get the spring on, I can bring this up to provide tension to stretch the spring. So I'll just hook that spring on. I haven't tightened this screw fully, so you can see that it's wobbling around a bit there. Probably get a little bit tighter. Take up a bit of the slack there, just enough to so you can swing it before it's tensioned and tightened. So just manoeuvre the spring on there if I can. There might be an easier way of doing this. Might need a pair of pliers actually, along those pliers here. Maybe not, oh, I don't know, let's see. It's going to be a bit tricky. There will be a knack to this, which I don't have at the moment. Let's have a look here. Just a minute. Yeah, I think that's got it. That is hooked on. I'll see if I can get a better shot of that. Not really, but it's actually down and inside there, hooked on. So I'm pushing this now to give it tension. So I would tend to give that a good push so that it's got quite a bit of tension on that spring. Oops. And then tighten this to lock it into position there. Oops. There. Yeah, that's got it. So nice amount of tension to see. You can see that this is still able to slide, so it's providing downward pressure. The spring is providing downward pressure this way and forward pressure this way to keep both of these belts tight. Really good design and self-adjusting, so you can't get much better than that. Alright, so that's all good. Back together, no suppression capacitor, sort that out. That back over there. I think there's a little tube missing here. That's the plate that goes over here. I think there is supposed to be a little oil tube that leads down and sort of points into this little oil point here, but I don't think, yeah, it's missing, either missing or it wasn't. They didn't have one for this model. I've noticed a couple of them like this, whether they fall out or whether that's the way they're designed, I don't know, but I would be tempted to take this panel off to get that lubricated there. Yeah, you definitely don't want to be squirting oil, you know, willy-nilly down into this area here, because it could get on the belt and the pulley here, causing it to slip. Could be quite a problem there. So I'll just put it back on. Don't over tighten these screws here either, just lightly do those up, otherwise the casing could become could crack there. I've seen that happen. I'll be tempted to take advantage of gravity here. So the as I showed before, this little piece here locates into the slot there. That. Three screws. Now I wouldn't tighten all of these up right away. I'd go most of the way there. Yeah, just very, not even tight, and just make sure they're, you know, close to tight though. So that's tightish there. Just back them off, you know, 1/8 of a turn or something. You don't want them sort of too loose either. That's really just so you can turn it to make sure nothing's jamming up as you turn that. That's turning freely there, because if you get it slightly out of position, it could jam when you tighten these 3 screws up. But that's good. So just nip those up. Don't over tighten those either. And bobbin case. I won't go too into detail with bobbin threading there at the moment. I'm going to do a video later about how to use the machine. Just be aware also that you can put this in and push it, you know, and it feels like it's in, but it's actually still, is it still in? Is it in? Yeah, it's not quite, it's kind of partly in there. It's not, I have to give it a good push to make it really click in there. That's just this little lever here locking into position in the groove. So you could get it to where it looks fine, and you know, it might sew alright for a little while, but yeah, that'll pop out, you see there. So I'm actually pushing quite hard there, giving it a good firm push. It's quite a loud click. Let's whack this foot back on. Needles, I always use Smets needles. Are, I think, the best quality needle, and for the sake of, I don't know, $1 more than a cheap pack of 5, I think it's worth paying the extra $1 or $2 or whatever it is, I don't know, but I always buy these. You know you're getting a good needle. I've seen some cheap ones where they've actually got the flat on the wrong side of the needle too. They've been manufactured incorrectly. Yeah, I'll just stick away from cheap needles. Same with thread. You can get away with some cheaper threads, not too bad, but I've seen knots coming through in some of the cheap threads and causing the thread to break, which can be a little bit annoying and potentially think there's a problem with your machine, when in reality all it is dodgy thread. So righto, I think that's about set to go. So we'll plug it in and give it a test run. If you're worried about electrical safety, it's probably something we should talk about. If you are not sure about the machine and its electrical safety, I would take it to an electrician and get them to check it over. Perfect example is this here on this machine. The outer insulation is perished, or it's been cut actually. It's not through to the bare wire, but it's close actually. So that's dangerous. And the other thing is they will check also to make sure the earth pin is properly connected to the machine. So the earth pin's important, it's connected in a case of a fault for safety. So get it checked out. You can do insulation testing on these machines. It's something that an electrician can do, or someone who knows what they are doing can do. That I'm going to fix. That is actually quite handy being down here close to the plug, because what I can do is just chop back to get rid of that and rewire the plug in. So I will be doing that, but in the meantime I'm aware of it. I'm going to plug it in, it's fine. I'm just going to make sure I don't go anywhere near that connection, and I'll fix that soon. I may even do another video on that, but I wouldn't recommend anyone sort of doing that themselves unless you really know, confident with what you're doing, or you're registered to do so. That's the light switch, by the way. Okay, I've got a little device here too which I use. It's a non-contact voltage tester. So it will, if I turn it on, it will detect any voltages that are, potentially life-threatening voltages that might be coming through. I don't mean to sort of scare people off these machines. It's just normal electrical safety for any device really that you plug in, even modern ones. So I'll just power it up, and we're not getting any problems there. Put the foot down a bit. Yeah, no problems there. I've done full insulation test on this machine, and there's no problems with it, apart from obviously that little fault there with the, well, it's not actually a fault at this stage, but it's a problem with the insulation there, which I'll fix. So let's try this thing, let's see how we go. I've not actually sewn it, so I don't even know if it goes. I'm sure it will. I've had such a good run with these machines. Around the check spring there. take up. I should sharpen those one day. It's like the mechanic's car sometimes. Righto. Turn it one revolution in operating direction. Okay. And I'm just going to use my cleaning rig. Why not? Okay. No worries. Zigzag. Sounds okay. Not the smoothest one I've heard, but sounds okay to me. Now I have noticed just a wee tip here with centralizing the needle. I've noticed with this one that the needle is not quite central, and that's quite easily fixed as well. Not sure if you can see it there, but I doesn't quite come through so well on the camera, but I can see it quite plainly here that this needle is slightly to the right of centre, probably only half a millimetre of that, quarter of a millimetre. And if we go into zigzag, you can actually see that it's very close to the right hand side there of the throat plate hole, and if we go to the left throw, you can see that it's quite away from the left hand side, so it's not quite set correctly. I'm just using the left, centre, right. I'm just going to adjust that very slightly. This little locking screw here, just release that, and then you can turn this screw at the back here. So I'm just going to turn that eccentric screw there, and you'll see it's moving the needle bar as I turn it back and forward there. So I'm just going to quickly centralise that. And this video is not really about any adjusting as such, but more so just to show off the ease of maintenance and reliability of these machines. So that's central there now. So if I go to the left position, that's looking good, and the right looking good, and full zigzag. Yep, that's looking better there. Yep, okay. So once that's been set, just tighten up this lock screw here. Just tighten that, and what that does is that locks this eccentric screw here, stops it from turning and putting the needle position out of whack again. Also, this adjustment here, I couldn't turn this before, I've just freed that up with some oil. So that is definitely presser foot pressure. So screwing it anti-clockwise, looking from the top anti-clockwise, increases the foot pressure, and clockwise decreases foot pressure. And it's easier actually to do that with when the foot's down. So I had that up there, it was a little bit hard, but if it's down you can easily wind it back and forward. So I put a bit of oil on here and a bit of oil onto the thread there and just worked it back and forward. It's nice and free there now. So that's pretty much it really. So I would say all in all now that's a good working machine, apart from that plug I need to fix up. So yeah, really, as I said before, really good quality Swedish made machine. The Husqvarna automatic 21A, that model. Yeah, so great little machine if you can get one. I would highly recommend it if it's in reasonable condition. Yeah, so this actually needs probably a bit more of a clean up. It's a little bit dirty still. A bit more elbow grease required there. And it's come up quite well, that machine, considering what it looked like before. And yeah, I'll do a how to use video, and I'll post the link in the description below, so keep an eye out for that.